Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, hang out with Scotty G. And I believe my guy Tim Lacombe is going to be with him as well today from noon to 3 at The Grill, hanging out with the good folks of RWB, 2264 South Main Street in Lehigh. Scotty and our guy Timmy Lacombe. All right, let's talk some Ute sports. It's time to talk to our friend Bartle. Hit it.
Covering the Utes better than anyone else. This is Utah Insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hi, Steve. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, fellas. How we doing?
Doing all right. We were just talking in the last segment about the University of Utah, this private equity deal that was talked about a lot at the end of last year. We haven't heard much on it since then. Are there any updates? Was this supposed to be closed by now?
No real updates. It's quiet, which means they're, probably busy at work on it, probably not talking about it a lot, but there was, plenty of work to be done on it to finish it. I shouldn't say plenty of work, but there was obviously, maybe not a lot of work, but just important steps to finalize, and I'm sure they're getting close to the finish line. Haven't heard anything in terms of, a date for when it will be finalized, but I know that they're working to get that all finished.
I've heard grumblings from lawmakers. Is there any way the legislature can put the brakes on it, or with the unanimous voting of the trustees, is it a done deal?
I don't know too much about the laws and all that sort of stuff, the political side of it. I just know that Utah is continuing to move forward and trying to get that deal done. And it's a big thing, not only for Utah, but also for, college sports, really, because, Utah isn't the only program that's feeling the impact of a new $20 million tab that's only going to go up over the next decade each and every year. So I think a lot of people are looking at Utah to finish this deal, whether they acknowledge it or not. I think this is a big thing when you're talking about the money that is now being shared with athletes. It's significant. And for a lot of universities out there, it's come at the expense of boosters and supporters of those universities, and there's a growing sense of fatigue among those people that support programs. So I think a lot of people, quietly behind the scenes are rooting for Utah to get this done and to see what sort of impact it has. So, we'll see what sort of impact the legislature stuff has on it. Obviously, when Utah announced it, it was met with resistance a little bit. Some comments were made by political people and all that. But I think, quietly behind the scenes, there are a lot of people that are rooting for Utah to get this to the finish line.
Steve, big picture, do you think you can give me an understanding of what the goal is for Utah athletics? I mean, meaning, is it all going to be about the football team being great, gymnastics being great, and everything else just kind of being whatever? Because, and this is just silly, but I saw the preseason predictions for baseball, and they're dead last. And softball, they were dead last year. It's just seems like I don't know if I would say the athletic department's in a great spot, in great shape since moving to the Big 12. Outside of football's awesome, and that's probably enough for most people.
Yeah, there's definitely a growing concern around the athletic programs, at least among the fan base, that, things aren't trending in the right direction. And, a lot of people are becoming more and more critical of obviously the leadership up there at Utah and the university. Again, the fan base, speaking of it's becoming more vocalized that the concerns are growing, especially, with the way that the Red Rocks have started the season. You can always count on the Red Rocks to be steady, to be consistent, to be performing at a really high level. And they made a coaching change, obviously, and the Red Rocks have not gotten off to a great start. And I think that really is why there's a growing amount of frustration among, the fan base that, things aren't trending in the right direction. And obviously with Utah football, coming off an 11-win season, things feel good there. They've made the transition to Morgan Scalley, and there's optimism there. With Utah basketball, men's basketball specifically, We knew that this season would be a tough first one. Expectations weren't super high, but still, I think it's, even then, Utah isn't meeting the low expectations they had coming into the year. So, I think the frustration is growing. And when you look at the overall health of each program, there's certainly good things that lead you to believe that things are, good things are happening. Obviously, the baseball program just opened up, just cut the ribbon on their new stadium, and the outlook and the impact that will have on their future and their outlook is promising. I know that there's a lot of excitement, around the program and sort of the impact that will have on Utah baseball moving forward now that it's on campus and they have these great facilities. Obviously, with the basketball program, you've got Alex Jensen, who's everybody was excited for. You've got the pending Huntsman renovation / new stadium. What is it going to be? We might see something soon officially from Utah announced there as well. And so from that sense, there are good things happening. But again, just the overall success of each and every program has kind of dipped over the last couple of years. And I think fans are starting to grow a little bit more frustrated as time goes on.
So I don't think anybody, and I'm including the three of us, really expected the Utah basketball team to be good this year. But with that in mind, how evaluate the job Alex Jensen is doing?
Yeah, I think it's tough because obviously expectations weren't high coming into the season. We talked before the year, before the season began. I sort of viewed them as at best a 12, 13th place type of program this year. And before the season began, they lose what was going to be a pretty significant piece in Babacar Faye, and then they've had two guys, Jacob Patrick and Lucas Longarita, also injured. Patrick for the last 2 months and Longarita for the last month. And those three pieces, I think, would have helped Utah, at different junctures over the last couple of months, where maybe things look and feel a little bit better. But overall, this was going to be sort of, a year one where Alex, goes through the first year, kind of gets his bearings under him and the roster, and you're kind of setting the foundation of what his program is going to be. And so it's been difficult. It was going to be a difficult first year, only made more difficult by the guys that they've lost so far this season. And so, over the last couple of games, it's been an interesting dynamic where you've got the fan base watching the program, and the previous 3 or 4 weeks, Utah had been making progress. They had shown improvement. They were playing a fun brand of basketball. Unfortunately, they played a really difficult slate of opponents. And over the last couple of games, there was a really concerted effort by the fan base to show up to the Huntsman, for these last 2 home games against Oklahoma State and against Arizona State. And the hope was that, Utah basketball would finally, put it all together with the Huntsman crowd behind them. And unfortunately, they've had 2 really bad performances. And so what sort of impact that's going to have on the fan base is going to be interesting to follow over the next couple of weeks, because the excitement was growing. The commitment to showing up to games was growing because the product on the floor, people watching from home, you could see that. You could feel it. The offense, obviously, it's a work in progress, but I think the fan base was really starting to get behind this team, and then they dropped these last 2 games in really disappointing fashion. And so it's kind of an interesting time right now with all of that. But this team, I think, had some potential to make some noise. Unfortunately, just the injuries, the guys that they've lost this year, have really kind of impacted it impacted the program where they haven't been able to be as competitive, as competitive as they hope to be coming into the year.
Men's Big 12 basketball overall, how would you view it? There's obviously some fabulous teams at the top, including an undefeated Arizona team. Houston's only got 2 losses. BYU suddenly not performing anywhere near, I think, as well as anybody expected. They're 5-4 in conference overall, and we know this is a difficult conference, but like Texas Tech is playing well. Central Florida has a better record than that. Is this still a very good year for the Big 12, or do you think people are viewing it a little differently?
Yeah, I do think this is still a really good year for the Big 12. Obviously, Arizona being the flag bearer for the conference this year, they're playing great basketball, far and away the best program in the country. They are just so good, have so many different answers, and it feels like they still have like another gear or two that they can get to, which is really, really impressive. So the job Tommy Lloyd has done there in Tucson with that Arizona program, obviously undefeated up to this point, 22-0, with a lot of really impressive wins. So they're the ones carrying the conference this year. Then you've got programs like Houston, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Kansas, that are still right there behind Arizona, that are doing a lot of heavy lifting for the program. UCF and West Virginia, now you can throw Oklahoma State in there as well, but those 3 programs really surprising coming into the year. I think there was a lot of conversation around West Virginia specifically because of the changes that they made. Really not a lot known there what they were going to look like, but the Mountaineers are playing good basketball. UCF with Johnny Dawkins leading the way, a surprising season so far. I think this conference is really, really good. It's just interesting when you look at it, just the difference from the top and the bottom is so drastic. It's so steep, where you've got, a couple of programs. You got Arizona 9-0, Houston 8-1, and then you've got, Kansas State and Utah with 1 win apiece in conference play. And then it's a lot of, competitive programs there, 8 through 14, where it's just kind of jockeying for position. So, this conference, I certainly think has put itself very prominently in the conversation as the best basketball conference in the country this year. But with some of the performances lately where, like BYU, for example, dropping to Oklahoma State, while that's good for the overall health, I think you still want your flag bearers, at the top to continue to carry that weight. So fortunately, you've still got Houston. You've got Iowa State, who, after dropping a couple conference games early on, have really come on strong. You're going to need those programs to continue to play well. And I think what's interesting is, I think, for Utah specifically, I think part of the reason why the fan base has really started to try and get behind the program is the fact that Big 12 basketball is so good this year. And I think there is starting to be more excitement, more interest for that, right, for Big 12 basketball. And so, as we get closer and closer to the off season, I think a lot of fans are going to be interested in how Utah attacks the transfer portal, because they want to be involved in the conversation with Big 12 basketball. They want to be one of those programs that, is helping the cause and not weighing down the conference. So overall, I think, again, the conference is great. You've got your flag bearers in it. You've got your programs doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and you've got depth in this conference, which, is really, really, really impressive.
What's going on with the football program right now?
Man, it's pretty quiet. But Morgan Scalley, I think maybe not all of the finishing touches in terms of, his staff, coaching staff and auxiliary staff, but they announced yesterday a lot of staff, finalized staff members for those auxiliary positions, and some really interesting names. Bo Nagahe joining the auxiliary staff as an alumni relations member, and you've got Lavani Damouni making the transition from player to player personnel analyst, where he's going to be, evaluating players and that sort of thing. You've got new personnel staff members, and you've got a new GM. So really interesting stuff from a staff perspective. What Morgan has accomplished, I think, has been really, really impressive. Going back to him finalizing his staff in a matter of days was impressive. And now they've put the bulk of his auxiliary staff, they've put the touches on that. And I still think they'll probably add a couple more pieces to some of these groups and all that. But I think overall really impressive. The football program in general, just kind of up there going through winter workouts. I know pretty soon here we'll be talking about spring ball, and from what I've gathered, there should be a little bit more access for media up there this spring. And I think there's just a lot of kind of excitement to see what this program is going to look like. Obviously, a lot of change this offseason, staff, personnel-wise. But this is a program that still has expectations going into next season. And when you've got your quarterback position figured out with Devin Dampier and Bird Ficklin, I think there's plenty of reason to be optimistic about your chances in the Big 12. And so it's all going to be about kind of the progress that some important position groups make this winter, speaking specifically to the offensive and defensive lines, the work that they put in during winter workouts and during spring ball. I think a lot of people are curious to see how it all comes together. But outside of that, pretty quiet. The coaching staff has been out on the recruiting trail pretty heavily, visiting prospects, extending offers. So things are starting to get going. But outside of that, not a lot of significant news to report on Utah football right now.
Well, Steve, thank you very much for jumping on with us. We always appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend and enjoy the Super Bowl.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Steve. It's our buddy Steve Bartle, who covers the Utes for KSLSports.com.
Really curious about Mark Harlan and where this is all headed. It doesn't seem like there's any real belief in him at all. Like, who has his back? The fan base certainly doesn't. He's embarrassed the team a couple of times now, either at press conferences or on social media. Teams are losing. It would be one thing if you were being made fun of, but your teams were good. It'd be one thing if you were a cartoon character, but the basketball team was better than it's ever been. But like the sacred cow of the gymnastics program not living up to expectations could be a death sentence, could be a death knell. That's a really bad sign, because that program rolls out of bed as a top 4 team in the country every single year.
Not being disrespectful for the gymnast, but I think he's bet it all on Alex Jensen and Morgan Scalley.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right.
I think he can't miss on another coach in a major program. And when I talk about major, I mean those two. Again, no offense to the gymnastics program. But if Alex doesn't work out, or if Morgan doesn't work out, then he's not going to work out. Mm-hmm. He's bet it all on those two guys, and now he has to figure out a way to get them the most resources to succeed. And that's what his job depends on, my opinion. Unless all of a sudden he shows up with a huge deficit in the budget or something like that. Like the University of Arizona, what was that story a couple years ago where they just found that they owed $400 million or something like that?
Yeah. That
they didn't plan for?
Like that?
So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think he's certainly bet it all on Morgan. I mean, I don't know if the fan base would let him boot another basketball coach, but I mean, the way that it ended with Witt and the way that it started with Morgan, I mean, he's
even that starts behind the 8 ball.
He's put it all on that guy. So if Morgan succeeds, then Mark Harlan will probably be fine. If Morgan fails, then that's probably a different story.
See, I don't even know if that's enough. That might be where my anxiety would be about the Utah program, is that football is going to be good. Morgan's going to be good. I think Morgan's going to do a really good job. I think the program has a ton of momentum that is, carrying over from what Kyle Whittingham built. And you can coast on that for a little while. Not always, but I do think Morgan hits the ground running and has the right approach, and I do believe in Morgan Scalley's ability to do that job. But if everything else falls apart, I don't think Mark Harlan's going to get any credit for hiring the coach in waiting who got that contract before Mark Harlan got there. And I know it went away, and I know it came back, et cetera, but I just don't think I don't think Mark Harlan's going to get any credit for this unless he can fund this team and find $20 million, yes, to build out a team that's going to win the Big 12 and make the college football playoff. I'm not sure how many pats on the back Mark Harlan's going to get for this.
See, you're getting into an interesting part of the athletic director's job. He shouldn't get any credit. He shouldn't. The coach gets the credit because the coach is running the program. The athletic director hires the coach. Mm-hmm. Regardless of if that coach was here or not here or whatever, he gets the credit. If there isn't any credit for the athletic director, it's hiring the right guy. So I guess what I'm trying to say is he's already got the job. It's negatives that are going to take the job away.
Sure.
So if Morgan fails, that's going to take his job away. I think if Alex fails, that'll probably take the job away. I don't know if he gets some sort of boost for making the right hire. That's his job.
Right. No, I'm totally with you. But if you do, as you said, you don't know if the fan base would let him make 2 more bad hires or boot another basketball coach. That is how you're judged, ultimately. And how you're judged is how those coaches perform.
Right.
So I don't even know if Morgan winning will buy him time. Certainly it would more than if Morgan loses right out of the gate. If Utah's 5-7 next year, he's gone, not Morgan. But they're going to have to make significant changes to the athletic department. Basketball team, man, it's just like some of the sound clips, the audio, and the stories coming, not stories, I shouldn't say that, but headlines coming out. It's just like, is Alex surprised that the program's at this low of a point? It seems like he's frustrated that the fan base isn't invested at all. It's like, why would they be? It's been a disaster.
I think Morgan and Harlan are attached. If Morgan fails, there's no way that Harlan loses his job and Morgan stays.
Well, the next athletic director would bring in their own person.
So they're locked at the hip. Now, whether or not Alex and Mark Harlan are locked at the hip, I don't know. That's debatable. But if Morgan fails, both of them are out.
No question. Yeah, well, you can't be bad at everything.
Right. So
that's the problem. Right now, their 2 good things are basketball and gymnastics. And if gymnastics is underwhelming in the slightest, that's really going to shake some people up because there is a ton of loyalty for the gymnastics program, and they still sell seats. And that's where people identify themselves as a winner. People want to be associated with a winner.
All right, we'll have more coming up next. Stay tuned. It's Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Scotty G coming up next Tuesday from noon to 3 at My Hearing Centers, 8941 South, 700 East. Is there a reason we're being patriotic today? Not that there's a bad day, I suppose.
The opening ceremonies of the Olympics.
Is that the excuse?
3 minutes from now.
All right.
Yeah. It's with flags everywhere. So.
Is there an example of an Olympic event where you cheer against the U.S.?
Not that I've ever run into.
Oh, I cheer against the basketball team every game.
Yeah, I was a little curious to see if some of these smaller countries could pull it out, but more a morbid curiosity than it was rooting for Lithuania or whoever.
I remember when Carlos Arroyo took down Team USA. Mm-hmm. It's a good day. I don't know. It's been so long now. I don't know if I could ever consider myself an Olympic purist. But believe it or not, the Olympics used to be about amateur sports. And I actually don't like the concept that you can just load up a team that's going to win by 30 every single game, and it's never in doubt. Kind of think it defeats the purpose.
How so?
I don't know. Competitive,
Isn't it just finding the greatest people in the world competing in athletics at the highest level?
But that's not what it used to be about.
I think it was.
No, it was about amateurs. It was not about professionals. It was about amateurs and competing for your team. They got rid of that when they let the Dream Team compete in the early 90s, and now you can be a professional at whatever you want.
It just seems like a made-up rule to me. And if it's a meritocracy, if you actually want the best of the world competing at the highest ranks, you're the best. As long as you've never made $1 off of this, that seems totally superfluous to me.
Well,
do we actually want the best, or do we just want the best who don't get money?
I just want it to be competitive.
You're the 85th best in the world, but since you've never made $1,
Oh,
we're going to put you out there and
but
give you a gold
you're
medal.
operating under the assumption that just because you're in the Olympics, you're somehow the best. If you've ever been to a ski event for the Olympics or even a World Cup ski event, honestly, although less so, but let me tell you, the Argentinian downhiller is not amongst the best 20 skiers in the world.
Correct. But the American who got there, or the Swiss or Swedish or whoever breaks through, did have to beat the best of the world to get their spot.
Well, they had to beat the best in their country, but you get what I'm saying. Like the 20th best skier in the U.S.
Correct.
is still better than the best skier for 90% of the rest of the world.
100%.
So what you're talking about, the best of the best competing, it doesn't actually exist. Your best of your country is competing against the best of their country, and I'm really just wanting to be entertained. I actually don't necessarily think that just because you win Olympic gold that you are the best of the best necessarily. But I don't like the competitive imbalance of Olympic basketball. I think it takes the entertainment factor out of watching it away. I think it makes it way less interesting. Just watching the NBA players drub Lithuania does nothing for me.
Because if you wanted the best basketball players in the world, Team Lithuania would have Donovan Mitchell on it and would have Rudy Gobert. You're right. You would have the top 12 players in the world on one team, but then players 13 through 25 would be on the next best team, and you're right, that is not what happens.
Just because you divide the event by country makes it unfair from the very start.
Sure. It certainly doesn't warrant itself as being the best of the best.
Is it really fair that the United States, a population of, what are we up to now, 350 million, is competing against, even take a big European country, what's the population of Germany?
Right. Minuscule.
Minuscule.
Yeah.
So the best German basketball players against the best United States basketball players, that's actually not fair.
I agree.
It's not a competition to see who is the best of the best.
But I don't know if that has anything to do with amateurism. I'm not sure amateurism encourages or discourages that.
That's not really my point, other than it even the playing field. That was really what I'm nostalgic about is, yes, the best amateur basketball team in the United States and the best amateur Russian basketball team are on a similar level. And thus the Russians beat the United States controversially in basketball in what was that, 80 – it was the LA Olympics, right?
Were they not playing professional Russian players?
I'd have to get into the nuance of what makes a profession.
Because I think that was part of it. Is they were other countries were allowing professionals to play,
or they were paying them under the table or something like that. I'm not really here to defend the Russian Athletic Federation and their ability to cheat, but I do know that the basketball tournament has not been competitive since 1992.
For the most part, I mean, they didn't win the gold medal one year.
Okay, 1 year, 1992 was a long time ago, but yes, I get your point.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, 8 Summer Olympics, something like that. So yeah.
Like that?
It has happened.
It's part of the reason I'm a little mad at Lindsey Vonn. Give somebody else an opportunity. This is her 8th Olympics or whatever it is, and you have to be the hero on a torn ACL so bad? I mean...
If she could have been replaced. I have no idea.
I don't know the rules on that either, although I did hear somebody talking about it. I guess it was yesterday that talked about maybe she could. I could look into the rules and see. I would guess, though. I mean, that's what happened with that's how Tanya Harding still ended up on the Olympic team.
And I mean, even yesterday, they were replacing players on the NHL rosters or on the hockey rosters because guys are getting hurt in the last games of the before the break.
Because that poor gal who got beat out by Lindsey Vonn in her torn ACL would be by far the best skier in Chile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
by a mile.
Yeah.
I was really shocked.
Or the host country, though Italy probably has some pretty good skiers.
Yeah. I was shocked about that when I went to the Super G when the Olympics were here. Like, there are, I don't know, half dozen skiers that are absolutely incredible and screamed at the bottom of the hill. Then there's another, 10.
The Australian breakdancer.
Then there's another 10 that may or may not make it. And there's a half dozen at the back part that aren't even going to make it past the halfway point.
Yeah. What it does do is allow them to represent their country, and I understand the value there.
Right, but it does not necessarily play into who is the best in the entire world.
It's not arguing for that.
Well, that's what everybody thinks the Olympics is.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. The premise, I guess, is do you ever cheer against the Americans? I cheer against the American basketball team because I don't think it's fair.
Okay.
Or I don't think it's competitive. Maybe if the word fair is what's bothering people, like, I guess it's fair. The best American basketball players are better than the rest of the world like that, but like that.
Like that?
But it doesn't make for an entertaining Olympic event, that's for sure.
There is something to be said that the 1992 Dream Team changed basketball for the better entirely. I mean, it made it truly a worldwide sport. It inspired every country or every country that got to see them to start competing at a higher level, and it's no coincidence that 18 years later, 20 years later, it's the most international sport we have competing of the major four in the United States.
It's not soccer.
It's not soccer.
Not soccer.
No.
All right, stay tuned. We wrap up the week. Coming up next, Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson
1, 2, 3, move it.
on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airways, talking sports. They got him made jokes and on soul. Loves his tie guy, Ben's got style with his scarf. Oh my.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson, wrapping up a Friday show. Puka Nakua's on with Armpit right now. Did Samson never, did he get let off of the Grand Theft Auto thing?
He did.
What was the story
They
behind
ended up
that?
deciding that Samson thought that the car he stole was his brother's.
Was Puka's?
Was Puka's, and when it was not Adu Thieros, who plays for the Los Angeles Lakers.
How'd he get the keys?
Oh, I don't believe the story in the slightest, but somebody made it go away. Which is what powerful people do.
So you think he did steal the car?
I don't think it was above board. Yeah, I mean...
Well, it still begs the question, why is he stealing a car?
Hey, man.
See, the more plausible of it was an accident makes actually sense to me, because why on earth would you steal an NBA player's car?
I don't know. Why would you punch a fan in the crowd? He's had all kinds of weird things. He's a weird guy.
That's not weird. That's just not showing any restraint. I'm sure every athlete ever wants to punch.
Stealing a car could fit in that same. He didn't show any restraint.
No. But you get my point. I'm sure every athlete, like every person who played in the Jazz game last night against the Hawks, there's one member of the crowd that they want to punch right in the face.
Yes.
That impulse is there for every athlete in every professional sports game because there's some idiot that's down there yelling or saying something or whatever. Even if it's not inappropriate, you're like, I'd rather.
Yeah.
Wish I could drag
Hit
that
that
guy
guy,
out of
yeah.
here and beat him up in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I don't think every athlete has the automatic impulse to steal a car.
That's accurate.
Now, I congratulate most athletes, I'd say 99.9%, who show a little restraint in not punching the fan. But I don't know, maybe Samson's walking around like that video game.
Like that?
Grand Theft Auto, do you think Samson's just walking into Puka's house and just grabbing cars and that's it? And Adu Thiero was just hanging out there and thought like, oh, there's keys in the dish, so I'm just gonna grab them. I don't believe that either.
Was it at a car? I was picturing, or at a house, I was picturing like a valet or something.
Okay, you usually have to get a ticket to get your thing back, but unless Samson's parking
I don't
cars
know.
now.
I've parked at some pretty loose valets. Have you ever had that situation where you're like, is this?
Well, I was a bellman. You've been a bellman as well. I've also been a valet a little bit in my career. And now it's all done on an app. So they've gotten rid of the old tag system. So I don't know. I didn't believe the story. I read a little bit of, he just thought it was his brother's car, and that's how he did it. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it in the first place.
I saw Puka, or at least pictures from the paparazzi, that he has a new girl, because he was really hating on the female gender there for a minute.
Yeah, it's really out on women. Good week.
But I think didn't his gal break his heart, and isn't there a child involved in there somewhere?
He said all women are cheaters or something. I don't know.
Well, he got over it. That's all I'm saying.
Apparently.
I'm saying good for Puka.
Turn the page.
So are your Patriots going to win?
Nope, Seahawks.
That's going to crush you.
No, I like the Seahawks. I like Darnold. This is a win-win for me. I don't care who wins this game. I like both of these teams. I like both of the storylines. I probably prefer the Seahawks win because I don't think they're going to get back, and I do think this is not the last time that Drake May is going to be in the Super Bowl, and I don't know how long Sam Darnold's going to keep this up. But again, that goes back to our narrative: is why am I waiting for Sam Darnold to fall apart? He's good. I keep waiting for this all for the real Sam Darnold to tap him on the shoulder and be like, "Remember, we're lousy." That's why we were a backup on 4 different teams before we got to Minnesota, but. Maybe he's just good. Maybe Seattle will be back here next year. Maybe they're the favorite.
I certainly don't
they're
think
the favorite in the game this weekend.
I certainly don't think it's a given Drake May gets back.
No, that division being so laughably terrible every year is a real boost. That really helps.
Well, what's his bungle? Everybody thought, oh, this is going to be the first of many. He hasn't even sniffed it. Burrow.
Oh, sure.
Dan Marino made the Super Bowl as a rookie, right? Never made it again?
Yeah, but ridiculous franchises. I mean, the Bengals are the most ridiculous franchise outside of Salazar's Raiders and the Bears. Or not the Bears, the Bengals and the Browns.
The Bears, too, yeah.
The Bears, too.
Well, the Dolphins were a really good franchise in the 80s.
Well, that fell apart. And now, speaking of Drake May, he gets to play them twice a year. And he gets to play the Bills twice a year, who can have the most talented roster and not put one foot in front of the other. And he gets the benefit of playing the Jets. Yeah, he'll be back. That's the safest bet.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's like Cam Newton not jumping on the fumble.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of people would have said, oh, MVP, Carolina was really good. Oh, they'll roll it back.
Never did.
His career was on the fast track to over.
Agreed. He was in his prime at that point, but was certainly later in his career than where Drake May is. And that's why I'm betting on Drake May to get back. They have a good young roster. They just have a good team. And clearly they do things well. And yes, it may just be the land of the blind. The man with one eye is the king. And they are in the land of the blind in the AFC East. It's just an absolute ridiculous joke.
Yeah. But the Patriots were part of that joke not that long ago.
Like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, like,
when they had Cam Newton.
Mac Jones and Cam Newton and the end of old Belichick.
But as soon as you get a guy, apparently it's not that hard to win.
I think it is.
Have a guy now.
I think it is really hard to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, not to be like, hey, get back here whenever, you know?
And there were weird things that happened this year. Certainly Mahomes being hurt didn't help.
All right, Scotty G on location with Bar W Beef coming up next. We will talk to you next week.
Thanks, Christian.
On Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.